Right, the lineup is back, and we're kicking off 2026 with a major guest. He's globally renowned as one of the most stylish surfers ever to set foot on board. 1/3 of the Cooley kids that caused a seismic shift in high-performance surfing in the early 2000s. He went on to post jaw-dropping edits in films like 3 Degrees, Momentum Under the Influence, Snapped 1, Snapped 2, Trilogy, Free as a Dog, Still Filthy, and others, as well as post an incredible 11 CT wins, 3 Hawaiian Triple Crowns, 4 World Runner-Ups, and the 2012 World Title. He's a family man, he is a businessman, and still a required watch every time he goes surfing. Ladies and gentlemen, with us today, we have the one and only Joel Parkinson. Joel, thanks so much for coming on the lineup.
Thanks, Dave. It's great to be here.
Yeah, right on, man. So where are we talking to you from today? Are you at home on the Gold Coast?
I am. I'm just sitting in the spare room at home. It's kind of my office spare room and, man cave, I guess you'd say.
I was actually kind of excited. We were going to record the other day, and it got knocked to this week, but it does come after the Usher Cup, and you and I were just talking before we started recording. I was getting the download, but it's a pretty cool event that I think a lot of folks outside of Australia, even the concept of board riders, don't really understand. So can you give us just a little bit of background about it and Snapper Rock Surf Rider Club?
Well, I guess the Usher Cup, for us, here in Australia, we're all so, where our surfing really starts is at our club, in our board riders. That's our path, and it has been for 60 odd years. In most clubs are gaining, I think Snapper's going to be 63 years old this year. Most of the clubs around the country are well over 50. So it's really where it all starts. But it's really cool now to see, and it really helped through the Usher Cup, the club scene through the States, even all over the world now. Got that board riders. It's a great community. It lets the kids of, tomorrow have a path where they not just make friendships and learn to surf, but, you get help along the way. And I think it's just such a cool concept. And, club surfing has probably never been stronger around the world, but also here in Australia with events like this. And we've got another big one coming up soon.
That's awesome. And I'm going to tread lightly here because I feel if I misname anyone in the wrong club, I'm not going to be allowed back into the country. But Snapper Rocks, it's got like an amazing alumni, right? It's got Wayne Bartholomew, Josh Kerr, yourself, Dean Morrison, Steph Gilmore. Now, you originally transplanted from the Sunshine Coast. When you moved, was it like picking a school? Because there's just so many great board riders clubs in such a small area, or did you just kind of gravitate towards Snapper Rocks to start?
No, I was 13 when I moved down. My uncle was Snapper already. He was living on the Gold Coast, so it's kind of, I was walking, straight in. And plus, I'm being best friends with Dingo at the time. He was Snapper through and through, so it was just like a straight, I had no other option. And I was glad with that because, I'm a proud Snapper board rider and I always will be.
That's a good segue because 12, when you move there, geez, that's like about 30 years with Snapper Rocks. But there's also another relationship you've had for quite a long time, and that's when you signed with Billabong. I read that you signed with them at 11 years old. Is that right?
That's right, 11 years old.
So yeah, go on, sorry.
I think it was like March. Around March. A local guy that was sponsored by Billabong at the time was like, "You got to look out for this kid." And I got the sticker on my board. I think I got 30% off 3 board shorts or 30% off wetsuits for the year, and I was rolling from there. But it's been a long relationship, an amazing one. I owe my life to them, and for everything I've done. I've done so many amazing trips with so many different generations from when I first started to even, now being, I guess, the senior guy there and going to, starting as the youngest on a surf trip, and 30 years later, I'm the oldest on a surf trip, and I'm still there. So it's a really cool path to be a part of.
Yeah, that's amazing. And this is going to be a very pro Billabong podcast, just for the record. We're a pro Billabong podcast. But I do want to hear, what was the closest you ever, 35 years is such a long time. Like, was there a moment where you ever parted ways with Billabong? Because I vaguely recall some drama playing out at the Quicksilver Pro Gold Coast and kind of the late Audies when you nearly jumped ship to Quicksilver, and there was a story that like Gordon brought you back in, but I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if you want to talk about it, and I don't know if that was maybe the closest where you're like, maybe I'll look somewhere else, but ultimately happy you stayed.
Yeah, no, it happened more than once.
Right.
It happened when I was 16 with Rip Curl. Derek Heim was trying to pull me in onto Rip Curl, and I got really close. I had a small little contract with Billabong for a couple of $1,000 or something, and Rip Curl may have doubled it, or it wasn't even much either. But for a kid at that point, it was a lot of entry fees, a couple of air tickets kind of stuff. So, and then right at the 11th hour, I was like, well, I'm going to Rip Curl. Billabong aren't interested, and then they come back and we're like, no, we want to keep you. And so I was stoked because I didn't really want to leave, but you had to do what's best for your career at that point. And then Rip Curl ended up getting mixed, so that kind of sucked for them, I guess.
No, sliding doors moment for them. They sliding doors.
They definitely didn't blow it. But yeah, so I guess and then later on, maybe in my 20s, early 20s, the same kind of thing. About 20, Quicksilver came in, and they put some stuff in front of me that was jaw dropping and life changing for me, and I was like, wow, okay, this could be me changing as well. But Billabong always seemed to step up to the plate, and for that I thank them so much. And Gordon was instrumental in those earlier times, and for me now it's just a legacy. It's great to be a part of. I get to still do quite a few promo trips with them, but also they get to drag me on a few surf trips, which is my favourite part of all.
Yeah, you're still a young man. We can manufacture another bidding war here. We can step up. Some rumor about someone approached you at the Usher Cup. Come on.
I'm good with that. I'm good. I'm happy here, and I think I'll live on the Billabong train now for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Well, it's a good segue too, because I think that objectively, one of the truisms in the surfing world over the years is that Billabong has just assembled some of the gnarliest team riders on the planet. In addition to yourself, you overlapped with Mark Occhilupo still there, and Taj Burrow, Luke Egan, Sean Cansdell, Shane Dorian's also still there, and now the likes of Seth Moniz and Ethan Ewing. Of course, the late great Andy Irons. We're gonna talk about him in a moment. But of those other surfers, or maybe some that I haven't even mentioned, is there a particular Billabong team rider that at some point just really stood out to you and impressed you as a surfer?
I mean, I guess all of them in some way were incredible. Like probably the early days when Occhi was on his roll, in those late 90s, early 2000s, it was special. Like, and then I think we did a boat trip, when it was myself, Taj, Shane Dorian, Occhi, Luke Egan. Like, it was just like, I was like, after 10 days on a boat, you're like, wow, this is like, can Billabong get a better surf team? Like, this is just as good as it could get. Probably Andy when he was in his prime on those early, like the Blue Horizon days was when he was just like unbelievable, so raw and incredible to watch. But yeah, for me, I was such a, Andy felt like not just a hero, but a real more of a peer to me, where I was like, Occhi was like hero status, right, and for us. So probably, being a 20-year-old or a 19-year-old going in and watching Occhi and just like, wow, it was like watching for us the GOAT.
Yeah, it's interesting too. And obviously you guys are so close, especially when I got to interact with you on tour. But was that always the case? Like, do you recall the first time you met Andy, and what was that early relationship like?
Well, I guess we'd kind of always cross paths. I guess it wasn't until he really got on the Billabong team that, I guess our friendship really clicked. Did quite a few boat trips, and then it was just started traveling, and we'd always hang. And, I guess that's where it wasn't until Billabong that I would say that's our friendship really stepped it up. And, we enjoyed hanging out. We loved surfing together, and it felt like we were always together, and it was always great. Funny if you had someone on a team that you spent so much time with that you didn't like, but for us, we got along so well, so it was really enjoyable.
Yeah, I'm interested in that a little bit too, because you signed with Billabong in '92. Andy signed with Billabong from MCD 2001, and then obviously, like on every team in every sport, especially the individual ones, there's kind of the alpha dog, like who's the guy question, and you guys always seem so friendly with each other, but was there ever kind of like a internally on your side, like I'm surf better than him, like I should be, I'm the guy?
Nah, I don't know. I guess
maybe he had it. Yeah, he was kind of.
I'm pretty cruisy. I was like, whatever. I don't really give a shit. So, but there was a couple of times, like I think we had this thing in Hawaii. The one house that had the big main room upstairs, and then the other rooms downstairs. We put this thing like, whoever's highest in the ratings gets a top room. And one year in Hawaii, and we're there for the 6 weeks, the Triple Crown. And I turned up, and I was higher than him in the ratings. And maybe a day later, after he'd already arrived, he was already set up in the top room. And I was like, well, I guess the rule doesn't count. But it was cool. I was by myself. My wife hadn't come yet, so she was still a week or two away. He was with Lindy, so I was like, mate, you guys are of course going to have the top room, but just so you know, like the rule will apply.
You mentioned, you consider yourself at this point and objectively, a lifer with Billabong. They've got long-standing relationships with the likes of, Occhi and Shane Dorian, and even with Andy, you mentioned Lindy and how close you all were, and it seems like a very, very cool thing that the company is still supporting the Irons family. They released the AI collection, which is just a clothing collection, and it sort of supports the family, supports their interests as well.
Yeah, it really is. They are, we all know that the last probably few years have been pretty tough for some of the companies in the surf industry, and especially Billabong. But for now, I feel like I think that's bottomed out, where it's a great trajectory. It's the people they have in the business are really passionate. We're all passionate, and we want to make it get it back to its former glory that it was when I guess we were younger. And I feel like it's in a position where it can be that way again.
Yeah. Well, everyone go and check out the AI collection on billabong.com. We'll put a link to it in the show notes. We're going to take one quick break to get a word in from our sponsors. And when we come back, we're going to talk family, the tour, and surfboards. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back to the lineup. I'm here with the one and only Joel Parkinson. Joel, we talked a little bit about family in that first segment, and one of the things that I think stood out to all of us that had the good fortune of being on tour is that, you were a family man from the jump, and you were kind of one of the first surfers to really travel, with your family, your beautiful wife, Monica, your daughters, Evie and Macy, and your son, Molly, eventually. As a young guy and a young dad, what was the tour like for you? Because in a way, it felt like you were really breaking the mold, as opposed to kind of the rest of the pirates that were off on adult summer camp kind of on tour.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Monica and I weren't, we were in love, and we definitely thought, that I thought she was the one, I was going to marry her and have kids with her. We just didn't know I was going to do it so soon. So, but I look back now, and some of it's a blur. Some of it is such a blur. Some of it is just sleep deprived for not only myself, but especially for Monica. Trying to compete and travel with 1 and 2 and then 3 kids was really tough. And she was a trooper, man. She deserves more of a world title sometimes than I do. So, to put up with not only me surfing I remember so many times in France with, that event was always a pretty tough one to run, and Renata would be putting another half an hour call or another hour, and it would be like, it'd be 3 o'clock, and she's like, "You're meant to surf at 7 this morning. It's 3 o'clock, and we're still here," and just juggling kids, and it was always some testing ones, but I wouldn't change it for the world. I really love, as I got to the back end of my career and my kids were older and so self-sufficient and enjoying the traveling, it was really cool. Like, as much as I would have loved to have stayed on tour as they got older, it was me personally that I was done, my competitiveness and my drive, and I guess I was just like, I need to, after 18 years of it, you wouldn't say I was burnt out, but I just had enough. Like, I was just like, I'm so happy to hang up this jersey and go and enjoy life. And if I do travel, it'll be with my kids and my family, and we'll go do something fun.
Yeah. It's I'd imagine too, there's an element where it's a double-edged sword. Like, on the one hand, as you pointed out, it's like, and people say this all the time, like going for world title, competing on tour, it's a very selfish enterprise. And you see people, they're surrounded by, trainers and coaches and dietitians, and they're getting all their sleep. But then on the other side, and I think this is sort of universal, I know I've experienced it personally, but then like fatherhood is like a hugely focusing exercise in a way where you're like, okay, I can't just like mess around anymore. Like, it's like dad strength or whatever it is. But like, I'd imagine it was hugely motivating for you, after a few years as well, and probably led to you becoming an even better surfer than you were when you started.
Yeah, definitely. There's no bigger life purpose than you have a baby and you provide, and it really sets in, and it definitely happened with me. Like, I was focused from that moment on. It gave me such a purpose. It definitely had its huge challenges, but I feel like then with a great partner, having a great partner was key too. So she gave me the leash to surf as much as I could and be ready to, be as good as I could. And I guess as life got on, once I had 3 kids though, that was a real challenge, but I was lucky I stuck my world title in when my third one was won, because years after that, juggling 3 and trying to travel and see who could come where and how it was going to work was a lot. But as I said, I wouldn't change it. And actually, as life goes on now, I feel like I get to surf more now, and they're all adults and independent. Apart from my youngest son, who's 15, it's awesome. It's really cool.
Yeah, and that's that timing thing you talked about too. Like, if you weren't a dad so young, the timing would have worked out that they would have been old enough to appreciate the traveling when you're still on tour, and now that you're off tour. So yeah, for sure. And I look at other friends that are in their mid-40s too, and they're like, some of them are in the trenches with young kids still, and I'm like, wow, I'm like very blessed that I might be heading to Portugal tomorrow night and leave the kids, and mum and dad will see you in 10 days, maybe 2 weeks, we're not too sure. So it's kind of, I'm blessed with that one. That's awesome. 18 years on tour, I'm not going to walk through the TikTok of that. There's just so many moments, but a couple questions through that tenure. When you look back, are there any moments that stand out as like particularly tough, where it's like a real low point for you, whether it was competitive loss or just, personal challenges as well?
New York, 2011.
That wave not quite cooperating, but look at this. Joel Parkinson on a nice set wave, driving down the line. Looks like he's got a little section in front of him. Rocks it up over the lip, and Joel now bottom turning and bangs it off the whitewash there. Okay, here goes Joel Parkinson on his forehand. Nice snap off the top, throws it up into the lip one more time. Now driving into this closeout and throws the fin.
Parkinson, 3-time Triple Crown champion.
All right, on a beautiful set, quick speed check off the top. Now Joel driving down the line, and woof, nice big swoop there. Smacks it off the top one more time, floats that section. Now going into a bit of a frothy part of the wave. And a couple lippers for Joel.
For sure, it's a really thin, like little wave. It doesn't have much power at all behind it. So, but everyone's used to surfing waves like that around the world, and a lot of guys will probably have a little bit more advantage than others, but yeah, there's potential out there to get good waves.
And
Sure, I still got a little bit, huh? No, it was that right was lucky. Kind of wind goes into it, and I think the wind lifted me up more than I actually did. I came in from a heat. I didn't even want to. I don't know why. I was just so cooked with surfing. I didn't want to. Wasn't even enjoying competing. Had no desire to go back out in another heat. Was about to throw the towel in for the rest of the year. Possibly, I was ready to retire and wrap it up. And then I was with JS, my shaper, my wife, and everyone. We were in New York after the event, and he kind of convinced me just like, go and just do Europe, go and do the events, enjoy. And yeah, and I just, maybe that was that's where it bottomed out. And I went to Europe. I don't even think I did very well that year. I kind of was just like, I really didn't care, I was just like free surfing through events. And then, yeah, then I come home and got ready for Hawaii and was just like, I was all psyched again. It only was a short window, but it set me up for going into 2012. And it I had that really nice medium between almost trying too hard and having a real low kind of like, I actually don't care for the result. I just want to surf really well. And I remember Kelly saying it's like letting go, where you just let it go. And it was almost like it wasn't as much thinking. It might have been a bit more of just gut and intuition, and it all clicked, and there it was.
Yeah. They talk about that with like even team sports, where like the world title run, it starts the year before, like at some point, where people are like, oh, you can see them building, even it's towards like the back end of that season. And yeah, that's amazing. I was thinking back to 2011 too, and it's like, it was the city tour year, right? We did like, I think that was the year we moved to Rio. We had New York, and we had the search was in San Francisco as an Ocean Beach. And
yeah, I think that's right. I got to Ocean Beach, and I was actually, I think I made the final. I made the final with Gabriel. It was the first time I'd actually surfed against him. He was 17 years old then?
Yeah. That was the mid-year rotation year, right? He won 2 out of the 5 events when he got on or whatever.
I remember I made the final, and I was like, oh, I got this, Grom. This will be as easy. He comboed me so quick. I was like, wow. He'd believe the hype. He was the greatest at that time. I was like, wow, shit, here we go.
That's funny, man. All right, well, we talked about the tough moments. I mean, you've even mentioned a few already, I'm sure, but like, is there any other kind of peak moments where you're like, man, this is, whether it's having your family with you or a particular win on tour that stands out when you look back?
I guess for me, I guess growing up and surfing with Mick, and I guess, it's been such good friends. When I think back, I probably remember some of our finals together. We probably, a Bells final we had for the 50-year Bells anniversary event. That was something so special. Even a Chopu final together where he got me on the buzzer. One in France, that was incredible. Just some really classic, cool finals. They always resulted in, me and him, spending the whole night together after it and having a party and stuff. And I just remember thinking they were such good moments. We had a J-Bay final. We were both on fire in the event. I had a bit of a shocker in the final, but he put on a clinic and waxed me. But, they were really special ones.
That's awesome. Having lived it yourself, in the trenches for 18 years, what is one thing you think that most people don't understand about the tour, or something that like maybe they think is right and is like, oh, it's not right? Or
I don't know. A lot of people may not think of how serious we take it. It's at the forefront of your brain at all times. It doesn't stop. Even for me, I used to always be really cautious of when I walked in the door having kids. I had to kind of put my father cap on and be a dad and a husband. But it might have shifted to the back of my brain. But the moment that I, was leaving the next morning, it was it's very consuming to be, especially when you're challenging for a title or even to make, to make a top 5 at that point. It's very obsessive.
Yeah, no, that's a really good one to call out. Yeah, and there's always this bullshit about how you particularly were so stylish that everything you did looked too easy, and subsequently you were consistently underscored. Now, I'm not saying it's bullshit in the sense that it wasn't true necessarily, but of all the things to be world class at, and style is kind of the thing that people hang on you as the one that holds you back. Like, what was your take on that whole narrative at the time, and has it changed years later?
It used to piss me off so hard because I would be trying so hard and styles, it's not really coachable, we never, maybe today's, there's a few tweaks you can make, and I definitely had tweaks I made with trying the other way, to make it look more, and throw a hand up when when I didn't have to, and do stuff. I remember Luke Egan and I, we would talk about, lifting an arm just to, just like, well, that's just my natural way, is that way. It's really hard to coach style. But for me, used to really annoy me when someone said, oh, you're making it look too easy on that wave. I'm like, I was just trying my hardest I ever have.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, academically, I kind of get it, where people are like, well, it's not his fault, but it does look easy because he's so composed. But you don't need me to gas you up, but like literally every time I have this conversation with like a high IQ surfer, a tour surfer, and they just are like, the fact that he is so composed and he's pushing so hard, this is the most difficult surfing you could possibly do. And so I guess in that sense, you become kind of the surfer, but I'm sure if it's seeping into the judges, you're like, God damn it. Like, I'll just wave my arms around and get another 2 points or something.
Yeah, exactly. Force a last turn and throw a pizza up and make it look exciting. And
intentionally mistime a section or something. So.
Yeah, which Kelly was incredible at that. Kelly forced so many maneuvers that you would like, we'd all go, oh, it looked cool, but it was, it looked forced, but it looked exciting. He was the master of disguise on that.
Big showman. You mentioned Jason Stevenson, and I want to talk about surfboards. I love talking about surfboards. You actually, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you started your career, at some point, on Darren Hanley's DHDs, and then shifted to become really the team rider on, we'll get to the team in a second, the JS Industries team. And I think that switch, I was going back through the photos archive, and it looked like it happened between the 2005 and 2006 CT seasons. What was the story behind that decision for you?
I first started on Dahlberg's, actually.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Dahlberg's was like when I was a wildcard J-Bay, I was on Dahlberg's, and then it wasn't long after that I went to DHD, and it was with DH for quite a few years, which was awesome. And then when JS was kicking off, tried a few JSs, and then Dingo had gone over there, and then just being a local guy here as well, I was just like, I jumped ship, really got along well with Jace, and that's been going now for a good 20 odd years, and I think I'm stuck there for life too. So I'm a part of the business there, and I love it. So it's really cool.
I mean, if you hadn't jumped and you had taken the rip curl offer, then it would have been, between you and Mick, there would have been really not a lot of extra bang for their buck at rip curl and DHD. So they had to spread you guys apart, right?
Would have been Joel Fenning and Mick Parkinson just about.
I mean, 2006, that's like what you said, like another 20-year working relationship with Jason Stevenson. And, this might be like a silly question, but do any particular boards or board models stand out to you over the past 2 decades? Anything that like really blew your hair back?
I mean, I guess for me, the last few years have been fun experimenting, just riding twin fins and riding whatever, I went a long time without riding. I think I went like 18 months without riding a shortboard after I retired. I was just like done with a shorty. I didn't want to. Felt like every time I surfed a shortboard, I was connecting in dots and crossing my T's and making sure. And I just wanted to ride fun. I've gone back. I ride shortboards now, and I'll enjoy it. But so probably the fun stuff's been the best. But on tour, there was a couple of boards that were incredible. I had this board. It was 17 heats. It never lost a heat. It was just in the most amazing board. It still surfs today. And a few years later, I was testing a heap of boards. I'd put it away, just retired it. It was too after what it had done. And then I went back and rode it maybe 2 years later, and just because I wanted to feel what, I knew what was right again and a good board. And the thing was unbelievable. And then recently, it got pulled back out of the rack, and JS's son Luca rode it, because just to get that kind of that curve and that outline of that board, and I guess shape it into a modern day board. And even he went, that board is just incredible. There was just something about this board, whether it was just made in the right humidity, right climate, the way it was shaped, fixed fins in a perfect spot. Rode it from whether it was 2 foot or 6 foot, it was just incredible. I think about that board was the one that comes to mind, but there is a lot of other boards.
Were you the kind of guy, you mentioned when you retired from the tour, you didn't ride a shortboard for 18 months or something. Were you the kind of guy that was just constantly refining that Ferrari board during your time on tour? Or did you let yourself experiment kind of ever with twin fins or different techs?
A little bit towards the end, but definitely, I guess JS is really passionate. He's so high performance, and he as much as I put in, I guess he was putting in too. So, and it was really good to test a lot of boards. We're pretty lucky where we live. The way there's a lot of consistent waves. There's a lot of easy waves to figure a board out. You could go through 3 or 4 boards in a day and test them all and put that one good one away. And I guess, like Jack Robbo is probably in that phase at the moment. There, I've been seeing him. He's back surfing, and it's a really cool thing, especially when you live around the corner from your shaper, you work together, you surf together.
Yeah. What's your go-to JS model these days?
My Zero Fusion, my Big Baron, the Black Baron. I mean, they're kind of all pensioner surfboards, but I really like them.
Well, I was talking to someone about this recently, and they were saying, we were actually talking about it with Raglan coming on tour this year. And they were saying, it would be interesting if some of the CT surfers pulled out a 2+1 or a performance twin. And they were just saying that these boards are so fast, and the outlines and the designs are so updated that they're not really exclusively just kind of fun alternative shapes. You could rip on these boards now, and
sure.
It seems like, I was watching you the other day on some model, and it looked like it had 2 big fins, and I'm like, hey, he's just going straight through the roof on this wave. It's unbelievable.
For sure. I imagine any of the guys you could put on a fat little right or a fat little shory left or something. I mean, you could definitely start. They've got that good these days, some of these 2+1s or trailers in them, and the speed is unbelievable. That you could probably put some of the top guys on them, and they could get off a normal shortboard. But in saying that, I mean, someone's got to take the risk. I would probably stick with what works.
Yeah. We've been running the CT Shaper rankings the past 3 years. It's like our version of the F1 Constructors Cup.
Yeah.
And JS was like a program we were keeping our eye on, because a few years ago, we were like, you can make an argument that JS has the best non-current CT team on the planet. It had, yourself, Occhi, Luke, Jeremy Flores, Ace, Julian, Dusty. And it's it's mind-blowing even kind of reading this list out now. And last year, between the likes of Kanoa Igarashi and Miguel Pupo, Marco Migno, and then wildcard results from Julian on the Gold Coast and Cali and Tahiti, JS finished top 5 by the end of the year, which was really cool to see, because it's you're always seeing kind of these programs rise and fall. And it looks like there might have been 1 or 2 moves in the offseason that can make him a real threat in 2026. And you're so close to it. I'm wondering if you had any kind of thoughts on just the team and how it's shaping up for the CT this season.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's some big moves there. I think it's going to be amazing. I think, JS has really got the passion to, I guess, to get out there and shape some good boards for some guys. And I'd love nothing more than one of his team guys to get a world title and, put him back at the top of that list where he belongs.
Awesome. We got a couple more topics and some listener questions for you. We're going to take one more quick break, and then we will return for our last segment. All right, we are back. This is the Lineup Podcast. I'm Dave Prodan here with Joel Parkinson. This podcast could go on for hours. I appreciate all the time you've given us, Joel. I want to end, we've got listener questions, we've got the lightning round, but I have a game, and if this doesn't work, we'll just edit it out before it airs, but I want to try it. 44 years young, I mentioned at the beginning, you are still a must-watch surfer every time you hit the water. The same we could probably say about your contemporary, Mick Fanning, also 44 years young. And both of you were part of this generation that really challenged Kelly Slater. Less young, still youthful in some circles. He's 53. And we know that competition results are only part of what makes a surfer great. And anyone like yourself with a high surfing IQ could probably, put your finger in the wind and be like, yep, that's my call on that surfer, and that's my call on this surfer. So the game we're going to play is that who is the best between you three, Mick, Kelly, and yourself, at different ages. So I'm going to give you the age, I'll give you some details, and you give me your call.
Okay.
We'll see if this works. All right, age 15. So for you and Mick, the year is 1996. Mick finishes in the top 3 in the Australian national titles. You're dominating the pro junior scene. For Kelly, the year was 1987, and the only stat I have on him at 15 was he won the Pacific Cup Junior Championship in Australia. So out of the 3 of you, who's your call for who is the best surfer at 15?
Oof. Probably me, but just getting second to Dingo, because Dingo was probably the best 15-year-old on the planet at that time. So, I feel like we were playing catch-up then. I mean, it's hard to say with Kelly, but he was pretty amazing. Plus different board, 87, kind of different equipment. But I'll say me for that one.
And I love the honorable mention for Dean Morrison. That's excellent. Okay, this is working so far. Age 25 for Kelly, the year's 1997. This is pretty brutal. He wins his 5th world title with wins at the Coke Classic at Narrabeen, the Billabong Pro on the Gold Coast, the Tokushima Pro in Japan, the Marui Pro in Japan, and the Kaiser Summer Surf in Rio. For you and Mick, the year's 2006. 6th in the world for you with a win at the Quicksilver Pro France. But I also think you were filming for the original trilogy, which came out the next year. And then 3rd in the world for Mick with a win in Brazil. So at the age of 25, between you, Kelly, and Mick, who do you think was surfing the best?
Oh, different surfing. But if you do it on who's further in front of that era, you got to go Kelly.
Fair. Age 35. For you and Mick, the year's 2016. Mick, he wins at Jeffreys Bay, returning the year after the shark incident in 2015, which is sort of a Herculean feat in and of itself. He ended up finishing 17th in the world. He was only competing sporadically that year. You yourself, you get a runner-up at Trestles. You finished 9th in the world. For Kelly, he turned 35 in 2007. He had a win at Trestles and finished 3rd in the world. Who was surfing the best at 35?
Mick.
Last one.
Yeah.
Age 45. For Kelly, the year was 2017. He had a quarterfinals on the Gold Coast. He then got waxed in WA and Bells, and then was injured in Jeffreys Bay, kind of the first major injury of his career. Tough one for him. For you and Mick, that will be this year, 2026. So
yeah.
You've already surfed against each other at Snapper Rocks. I heard there was some controversy. I saw an edit that looked like you waxed him, but I heard that he actually just edged you out. But there's still a long year to go. Who will be surfing, or who was surfing, I should say, or will surf the best at age 45?
Whew. I mean, I think Mick, if Mick seriously wanted to do it and go back on tour, I think he could do some damage. He's incredible. I've got to go with Mick. I mean, Kelly's injury was probably the only thing that held him back. But for that 1 year, if we're going to go to just the year of 45, it's Mick.
All right. I like it. We had some diversity in there. I appreciate you playing that one for me. I didn't know that was going to work.
No worries.
Well, excellent. We did put out a feeler for questions at the Lineup Pod on Instagram. We got a truckload back for you, but we've whittled them down to 3. First question is from Matson Colbert, who asks, was there ever a wave you regret not going to when you were younger?
Ooh, wave I regret. Well, I've always wanted to go to Skeleton Bay. I've just always wanted to go left. Like, to be honest, I got to tell you, I hate going right. Like, I am so sick of going right that if I can find a left anywhere, on the Gold Coast, which is really hard to do, I'm there. But I love to go left, so I'd love to go to Skeleton Bay. And I've always wanted to go since the first day I've seen it. We
can start your Raglan wildcard campaign right here on this show.
I'm not good on my back end, that's for sure.
I'd like to go, but no, yeah, I got you. All right, next question's from @Lonnie_Coco, who asks, what did you learn from your hardest year on tour?
My hardest year have to be 2010. For me.
Yeah.
That would be, I had a horrible injury, lost one of our best friends, one of the greatest of all time. That was a hard one. I guess we learned a lot. I think, that tragedy of losing Andy, but it brought a lot of surfers really close together and realised, the tour is not just more than a few heats. It was such a good community to be a part of at that moment. Everyone was there for each other. It was real. As hard as it was, I would look back now and there were some really special, good friendships that are formed for life from that.
Yeah, well said. Last one we got for you from the Instagram community is from @ACCondon, who asks, who's surfing on the Gold Coast impresses you now?
Well, there's a lot. I really love Liam O'Brien. I love the way Liam surfs. He's, a local guy here at Burleigh and he's amazing. I feel like, I feel like he's hasn't, achieved what he's possible and capable of. I think he's amazing. Morgan Sedlick's been really impressive the last few months out here. I've been seeing him surf a lot. And then for my local snapper guys, I'd probably say, for me, Sheldon Simkus is, incredible around here, and I really like to see him surf.
Awesome answer. Well, thank you to everyone that wrote in questions at the Lineup Pod on Instagram. We're now down to our final segment. This is the lightning round. So these are 10 questions for you to answer as quickly as you can. First question. If you could only have one board setup for the rest of your life, single fin, twin fin, thruster, quad, bonzer, or finless, which would you choose?
Quad.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Burrito or pizza?
Burrito.
Last book you read?
Breathe. Or Breath, I think it was.
Best surf film ever?
Oh. Searching for Tom Curran.
What is one wave you never have to go back to?
Sakurima.
If you only get to surf one wave for the rest of your life and you can dreamcast it, perfect conditions, just you and your friends, which wave would it be?
Cloud break.
Best person to share a lineup with?
Man, that's a tough one. There's a lot of good humans to surf with. I don't think I can answer that one.
That's fair.
I really don't. That's a tough one to answer.
All right, maybe this one's easier. Worst person to share a lineup with?
Dingo, hands down. He would just say the same about me. He's actually amazing to surf with.
He probably has. Best person to share a lineup with?
Best and worst was Mick and Joel.
Okay, well, that was the next question. Who's the worst? That would make a ton of sense.
Yeah.
We just always give him so much crap about surfing with him.
All right, last one. Finish this sentence. I will next achieve a state of happiness by...
Finishing this and sneaking a surf in before I have to pick my grom up from the school bus.
Good. We will get you out of here. Joel Parkinson, man, thank you so much for coming on the lineup. I personally honored to say I get to know you and get to talk to you every now and then. And yeah, congratulations on a life well lived. I can't wait to see you surf the next time you get in the water.
Cheers, Dave, and I guess I'll catch you on the Gold Coast soon.
Yeah, I'll come bother you soon.
All right, thanks. Appreciate it.
See ya.